This is the podcast to improve your English listening skills while learning something new in English. Every episode, we bring you interesting topics in simple and clear English, so you can listen, learn, and grow. So, sit back, relax, and let's get started.
All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we are diving into some seriously useful stuff. How to actually get good at learning English. You guys sent in this awesome resource called Tips Kara Effective Belgar Bahasa Inggris Podcast.pdf.
Yeah.
It's full of advice, and our mission is to kind of, unpack these tips and see what makes them work.
Absolutely.
So you can get on that path to, really being able to use English well.
I think that's a really good way to put it. We don't just want to list off tips from the PDF.
Right.
We want to think about how you as a learner can really use these tips and kind of internalize the information.
Right.
And it's cool that this PDF actually breaks it down into 8 key areas.
Oh, yeah.
So we can really take it step by step and not just give you the what, but give you the why.
Perfect.
And help you, build that consistency.
Yeah, lovely.
So you can feel confident in your learning journey.
Okay, so let's dive right into vocabulary. The PDF kicks off with a vocabulary building. This is something that we all know is super important.
Yeah.
To have a good vocabulary.
Yeah.
It suggests trying to learn 5 to 10 new words every day. Mm-hmm. Maybe using a little notebook or, apps like Duolingo, Quizlet.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about that kind of daily drip approach?
I mean, it's really smart because if you try and learn, dozens of words in one sitting,
right,
chances are they're just going to bounce right out of your head.
Totally.
So having this manageable daily goal, I think, is a really good way to build a habit.
Yeah.
And what I think is interesting about those apps is a lot of them use spaced repetition, which isn't just random review. It's actually this technique where it shows you words more often when you're likely to forget them.
Right.
So it's much more efficient.
Oh, interesting.
Way for your brain to actually hold on to this information. That makes total sense. It's you're getting a little nudge right when you need it.
Exactly.
So the PDF also really emphasizes using the new words you're learning in sentences. Why is that so important?
Yeah.
Beyond just knowing the definition.
Knowing the word in isolation is one thing, but using it in a sentence,
right,
that's where the real understanding comes in.
Right.
Because when you're constructing a sentence, you're forced to think about the word's grammatical role, its nuances of meaning, how it fits into a larger context.
Right.
And they give some nice examples, learn, improve, practice.
Yeah.
Those are great starting points. But think about it. Saying learn is one thing. Saying I want to learn English to improve my career prospects.
Right.
Or consistent practice is key to mastering any new skill.
Yeah.
That act of creation cements the word in your mind.
It's not passive, you're actively doing something with it.
Okay, so the next piece is listening practice. The PDF highlights that, getting your ear attuned to English is so key to understanding real conversations.
For sure.
They recommend everything from English songs with lyrics, films, YouTube videos, podcasts.
Yeah.
With or without subtitles. What's the reasoning behind all of these different methods?
I think what's cool here is how these different approaches, they kind of target different aspects of listening comprehension.
Okay.
So, songs can really help you get a feel for the rhythm and the intonation of the language.
Right.
Movies and videos, they expose you to natural speech patterns, slang, even non-verbal cues.
Totally.
Which, adds so much to communication.
Right.
And then they mentioned subtitles, which I think is brilliant. Watch it once to kind of get the gist and then watch it again without subtitles.
Right, to challenge yourself.
To really challenge yourself, yeah. And then podcasts, they're great for just getting used to different voices.
Right, different accents.
Different conversational styles.
Yeah.
So I guess a good question is, what kind of audio do you already enjoy in your native language?
Yeah.
And can you find the English equivalent?
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Why not make it fun?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Next, we're moving on to speaking practice. And this is where I think a lot of learners feel kind of, a little hesitant, a little nervous, vulnerable.
Yeah.
The PDF suggests a bunch of different things. It says, find a speaking partner.
Right.
Practice speaking in front of a mirror, which...
Kind of a weird one.
But also kind of interesting.
But it worked.
And then join communities or online classes.
Yeah.
So for someone who is feeling really shy about this whole speaking thing.
Right.
Where's a good place to start?
I think it depends on what makes you feel most comfortable, honestly.
Yeah.
That mirror exercise, it might seem strange, but it's a really good way to get used to forming the sounds. Okay.
And there's no pressure.
Right.
But it can actually build confidence in your physical ability.
Oh, interesting.
To speak the language.
Yeah.
Joining a community, whether it's online or in person, that gives you that supportive environment where everyone's kind of in the same boat, you're less likely to feel judged.
Right.
And then a one-on-one speaking partner, that's great for direct interaction.
Right.
But starting with something a little lower stakes can be really beneficial.
Okay, yeah.
The takeaway here is that short, regular bursts of speaking, even if it's to yourself, are way more valuable than waiting for that perfect moment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps are still steps forward.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about reading habit.
Okay.
Your PDF says that consistent reading really helps you get a grip on sentence structure and naturally expands your vocabulary.
Okay. They suggest starting with easier material, like short stories, comics, and working your way up to novels and news articles. And they also say it's good to highlight new words.
Right.
So why is that kind of gradual increase in difficulty so important?
Well, think about how you learned to read in your first language. Right. You started with simple words and sentences. Same principle here.
Right.
If you start with something that's way too complex, you're just going to get discouraged.
Yeah.
You're going to feel overwhelmed.
Makes sense.
So by gradually increasing the difficulty, you're building your skills and your confidence at the same time.
Right.
Highlighting new words or sentences, that turns reading into an active process.
Okay.
You're not just passively absorbing the story.
Right.
You're actively identifying okay, these are areas where I can grow.
Okay, yeah.
And often seeing those words in context is the best way to really understand their meaning.
Right.
How are they actually used? So what kind of books or websites do you enjoy in your native language?
Yeah.
Can you find, similar content in English?
Good point. Tying it into your interests makes it less like homework.
Exactly.
Okay, next up, writing practice.
All right.
The PDF says that regular writing really helps you solidify your understanding of sentence structure. Some of their suggestions are journaling in English, writing social media updates, or emailing friends in English. Those seem like very accessible ways to practice.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Writing is a great way to actively engage with the language.
Right.
Even short journal entries, they force you to think about grammar, word order, how do I express my thoughts.
Right.
And then social media, emails, they offer a more communicative purpose.
Right. You've got a reason.
You've got a reason to write.
Yeah.
Which can be really motivating.
Yeah.
And what I think is interesting is that you don't need to write these long essays.
Okay.
Just consistent short bursts of writing. Right.
Can be really effective.
Gotcha. Okay. So now we get to a really big one. This is about consistency and discipline.
The foundation.
Yeah, the PDF says that, it's true. Language learning does take time and dedication. They recommend scheduling study time, using different methods to keep things interesting, and setting goals. So what are some practical tips for really sticking to a routine?
I think this is where it's really helpful to kind of understand yourself.
Right?
What are your own motivations and habits?
Okay.
So scheduling study time is huge.
Yeah.
Treat it like an appointment you can't miss.
Right.
But then to avoid burnout, you've got to have that variety.
Okay.
So don't just do grammar exercises every single day.
Right. Mix it up.
Mix it up, listening, reading, speaking, vocabulary work.
Right.
And then goals, make them smart.
Oh, yeah.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Love that.
So instead of saying, I want to improve my English.
Right. Try saying, I want to learn 10 new vocabulary words this week.
Okay.
Or I want to have a 15-minute conversation with a language partner.
Right.
So, small achievable goals give you that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
And they keep you motivated. And remember, it's okay to have off days.
Of course.
But try to get back on track.
Right.
Consistency over time is what matters.
That SMART framework is super helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next tip is something that I think a lot of learners find tough. This is, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And the PDF says, wisely, that errors are part of the process.
It's how we learn.
Yeah, they encourage you to speak, even if you're not perfect.
Right.
Ask for corrections. Learn from those errors. Why is that kind of mindset shift so important?
Well, I think what's crucial to understand is that mistakes aren't failures.
Right.
They're actually really valuable feedback.
Okay.
So every time you make a mistake and someone corrects you, you're getting a clearer understanding of how the language works. Yeah. And if you're too afraid to speak, you're going to miss out on those learning opportunities.
Right.
Asking for corrections also shows that you're willing to learn.
Yeah.
And most people are happy to help.
Right.
So it's really about reframing your perspective.
Totally.
See mistakes not as something to be ashamed of, but as, stepping stones to fluency.
Yeah. Each mistake gets you one step closer to getting it right.
Exactly.
Okay, last but not least, the PDF emphasizes using English in daily life. Some of their suggestions are changing your phone language, thinking in English,
right,
and practicing simple daily sentences. So how can these seemingly small changes actually make a big difference.
These small changes create this constant, like, low-level immersion.
Okay.
So by changing your phone or your social media settings, you're encountering vocabulary and grammar.
Right.
Like, all day long in a familiar context.
Makes sense.
Trying to think in English, even if it's just, short phrases, starts to build that more direct connection between your thoughts.
Yeah.
And the English language. You're not constantly translating in your head.
Right.
And then practicing those, simple daily sentences just makes the language feel more relevant.
Okay.
More practical, like you're actually using it in your everyday routine.
It's not just something you study.
Exactly.
So to wrap up our deep dive into this awesome PDF, we've looked at actively growing your vocabulary, really honing your listening skills, your speaking, your reading, your writing, how absolutely important it is to be consistent.
The foundation.
To have discipline and to embrace those mistakes.
For sure.
And to find ways to weave English into your daily life.
I think the PDF put it really well. Like, the magic happens with practice, patience, and consistency.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
Okay, so now I want to turn it over to you, the listener. Thinking about all of these practical strategies, what's one small but significant thing you can commit to doing differently in your English learning starting today? Maybe it's setting a daily reminder to learn vocabulary or switching one of your social media accounts to English.
Right.
Or maybe you're going to listen to one English song a day with the lyrics.
Yeah.
Think about that one action. How by doing that one thing consistently, you might create this like ripple effect and see some really cool progress over time.
I love that.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe.